Okay, I think we are live now. You can hear me. I think you can. Let me just tell the Discord crew. I am here. Okay. And you know what we need, right? We need I'm waiting for it. Our music. Hi, Lunar Eclipse. Nice to see you here. It's a good question. So for people who don't know, Lunar Eclipse needs some suggestions, some feedback. So we're going to take a look at a document that was written. This ought to be fun. Okay, where's that music? It should have been playing. Maybe I'm not. Let's take a look. There we go. Ah, there we go. It's playing. Okay. All good. Whew! We are going to talk about laptops to buy. We're going to talk about IAF. We're going to talk about Brad Cobo published a new video this morning, so we're going to watch that, react a little bit to it. I didn't fully watch. I just got it the first few minutes, so it'll be the first time I'm watching it myself. We'll check if Tio has anything, and we'll do our discussion. We will have a pretty robust discussion with IAF in this session. I did a lot of measurements over the weekend, and I can tell you, I made a few discoveries. That I want to talk about it with you before I make a formal video, because I think it needs us to adjust a few things. Okay, I'm going to increase the volume in my ears. There we go. Okay. And let me just double check Discord. Okay. Lunar Eclipse is in the chat. We'll get a few minutes. While we're waiting for people, I will just share a few more thoughts. It is June 23rd, so July 4th is coming. If you're in the United States, it's supposed to kick off a year of celebration of the 250th birthday of the United States, 2026. I was a young child 50 years ago in 1976, and that was a huge party. If you go on Reddit, sometimes there are posts asking people who are old enough to comment on what the vibe was like. And I can't say I didn't find anybody that disagreed, but basically everybody said it was a great mood. There was a good feeling in the air. I guess you could call it patriotic, certainly. I'd only been in the United States a couple years, so we were totally into it. And there were flags and ribbons and star-spangled banners, music everywhere for it seemed the entire year. It was a good party mood. I'm not sure what it's going to be like this year. I mean, I'm very happy, but with the way things are politicized, I'm not sure people are going to enjoy it. Hi, Nick. Good to see you. Okay, let's see. By the way, does everyone like my new streaming uniform, which is this shirt? This is like my Steve Jobs, sort of like wear the same thing for every stream, just so that there's a consistent look and feel for everybody. I know it can be a little bit boring, but I think it ends up looking kind of nice. Okay. So let me get my notes ready. So just give me a second. I gotta get... Oh gosh, we gotta talk about pen grips too. I saw something very interesting. And one more thing. OneNote. Let me duplicate that. Maybe we'll do some military aviation while we're at it. You know how it is with me. I will point out, we still don't know what happened to those 3 F-15s. Seems to be completely dropped by the news cycle. Not often you get 3 F-15 Strike Eagles shot down in the space of a minute, and everyone forgets that it happens. I haven't forgotten. Friendly fire incident. I haven't forgotten. I haven't forgotten at all. I'm going to keep bringing it up. I wish I knew someone who was like, I don't know, involved. Maybe, Nick says, maybe not as spicy as full leather latex, but I'm okay. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate the feedback. You know, I don't think I own anything that's in leather. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a real good thing. Okay, lunar eclipse. Are you ready to... Actually, before I get to lunar eclipse, let me actually write down the notes for the show notes, okay? Because we want to make sure I actually do that. There's a couple of things. Yeah, there's actually quite a few things. Let's see, today's date is the 26th of June. Oh, sorry, 23rd of June. Okay. Okay. So we got these topics. And what else we got? There's a lot of topics. Show notes. Okay. Okay, I think I'm at least somewhat more prepared now. Brad's video. Yeah. Okay. Lunar eclipse joined the Discord today and had a question and wrote a very thoughtful PDF. And I thought we'll take a look at it because it's not a topic we often touch upon in these streams, which is laptops. And because normally we're talking about standalone devices that are like an iPad or a Samsung Galaxy Tab S series. Maybe we're talking about a Mobile Studio Pro every now and then. But laptops we only occasionally talk about, and it's worth diving in. And because Lunar Eclipse wrote such a nice document, and I think it's really good when you're trying to buy something this expensive that you write something up to formulate your own thoughts. So we'll do this, and maybe we'll learn things about how we'll advise people and what we think is important. And there's some things I don't think I've really clearly said I want to make sure you get. Okay, so let me find Lunar Eclipse's document here. And we'll do that first, and then we'll talk about some of these other topics that are really interesting. Where's my downloads folder? Okay, so we'll take a look at, maybe we'll get some AI help. How's that? Yeah, I might actually do that. Oops, I'm trying to share it to nobody. Okay, how do I do this? Okay, it's only 4 or 5 pages, maybe it's 5 pages. Okay, so not too big. Lunar eclipse, we're going to go through it, and if you have anything in chat you want to elaborate on, we might ask you some questions as well. But if you want to pipe in and say something, let us know. I really wish I could do like a call-in show where like someone joins me so we can, live talk to somebody. Okay. Here we go. So this is from Lunar Eclipse. It's a 5-page PDF, which is entitled 2026 June 23rd Screen Tablet Choices, right? So it looks, now, by the way, screen tablet is used, but the formal phrase I would use is like standalone. Screen tablet tends to mean pen display, meaning it's just the tablet that you have to plug into a computer. But it looks like you're talking about essentially laptops, okay? So let's just keep that in mind. So requirements and preferences, glad that you titled it like this. I think it's so good when people structure what they're trying to think about. Linux drivers for most peripherals, okay. So I'm gonna assume you want to run Linux on it. Maybe you want to dual boot, so you're running both Windows and Linux, so you should clarify that. Or maybe we'll get to a clarification. Things that must work: stylus, digitizer, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth sound card. Must not have major suspend hibernation issues on Linux. Okay, I'm not the best qualified to answer this. Maybe someone in the audience is. Okay, Lunar Eclipse says, forgot to add standalone in the title. Okay, yeah. So standalone, this is like 3 kinds of standalone. Standalone laptops, pen computers, and 2-in-1 mobile, 2-in-1 laptops and then mobile devices. Hey Saul, thanks for joining us. See, Saul says, busy editing photos. Well, thanks for joining while you're editing. Has anyone heard any rumors on why Wacom limited support device list is for ARPANET? Nick, I haven't heard anything about why. Nothing about why. And I've heard no news about changing that list either. There's no obvious reason. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't a reason. It's just not clear what the reason is. See, Lunar Eclipse says, want to run just Linux unless the device needs some Windows app for hard. Got it. Oh, got it. Okay. So in general, and people can feel free to correct me on this, Linux comes with pre-built Wacom support. Now, pre-built means like Linux comes with something like a Wacom driver, okay? In fact, I don't even think Wacom ships a specific driver for Linux because the support's built in. So let's just check that. Wacom Linux drivers. Let's just double check here. Yeah, I think it comes as part of your Linux distro. Okay. Peripherals having issues after resuming from sleep is a deal breaker. Of course. So this is the first thing where my knowledge is not going to be the best because I just don't know much about laptops and Linux. So I would be interested in others who have feedback. Ideally, webcam, mic, fingerprint reader if applicable. Okay. 12 gigabytes of RAM or more. Okay, that's a decent amount. My current laptop has 32 gigabytes, which is convenient for compiling large software projects and running VMs, but not necessary here. Okay, so what I'm going to be curious is what you intend to do with the stylus, because that'll affect our answers, I think. I typically have 1,000 to 2,000 tabs open on any given desktop Firefox instance. Am I misreading that? Lunar Eclipse? 1,000 tabs? Must be a world record. Usually no more than 20 or so loaded all at once, of which 1 to 3 are more complex than a wall of text. This requires tab management extension, Sideberry in my case, and special consideration. Okay, looks like you're the upper percentile. Oh, Cube has something to offer here. Wacom has employees that work on the Linux kernel driver support to make sure everything works. It's the same as Linux making most hardware drivers just work rather than having to install extras. Okay, so if I take that, the expectation is Wacom tablets will more or less just work on Linux. Okay. And they try to make that happen by baking it into the Linux kernel, which is interesting. Lunar Eclipse says, yes, it's indeed 1,000 tabs. That's wild. That is wild. Nick says, I see only one solid reason. This is relating to ArtPen 2 support for a limited number of tablets. Greedy marketing strategy. I mean, everyone would be happy if they just relaunched ArtPen 1 with minor updates. Kind of would. I will have IAF data on ArtPen 1, by the way. I have newfound respect for the ArtPen 1. I don't think they needed to reinvent everything from zero. Yeah, I don't understand why. Saul says, I'm using my Huion Inspiroi H1161 to help me install my phone. Yeah, it works great for that. I have the HS611, which I think is a very similar model. But yeah, it works fine for that. Screen 1080p, 60 Hertz, 95% sRGB, 300 nits or better. Must not have privacy filter. Many laptops don't normally have that, so I think you're fine. At least 4 hours of battery life, ideally 6+. Must be possible to replace the battery without dealing with adhesives. Okay, so it sounds like you're okay with disassembling it. Price up to 500 euros. I'm in EU Poland. Well, dobry wieczór to you, Lunar Eclipse. Dobry wieczór. I studied Polish for a year. A fact I never stop reminding people. I don't know how to say much, but I can talk about things in the zoo like Maupi and Tigrisi and Lev. And I can talk about some kinds of food and things like basic stuff. But most people in the United States do not know any Polish. So a Polish person normally meets me like, oh wow, you can say something more than dzień dobry. They're amazed at that. Huion, XPpen, and Sense Labs all do not officially support any kernel drivers on Linux, although some of them do work through the HID UC Logic kernel module. And Lunar Eclipse says Dobry wieczór. I'm showing Lunar Eclipse's comment on stream, so for those who, where is it? Is it not seen? I'm not sure why it isn't. Let me check to make sure the comments are being seen here. Oh, I see. It's not showing up. Oh, there we go. Dobre, so for people who don't know, that means good, and wieczór means evening. Dobry wieczór. Polish is a beautiful language, and I recommend everyone learn a little bit of it because it's kind of obviously Slavic, but it's a very soft, beautiful, I think rather flowing language. To me, it's like a Slavic version of French. So I think it's beautiful. And my favorite Polish word, believe it or not, is the word for November, which is listopad. And I talked to one of my Polish friends many years ago, and I told her, I said, Monika, I think that word is so it's so well put for November. And she goes, what? She didn't understand what I meant, because this is the truth. If you always speak your language, you may not think about the word you're saying. And I said, well, so list means like a leaf, I guess. And opad means like fall. So I thought that's a great, like leaf fall is like the sense of listopad. So what a great name for November, right? I can talk about these words all day. Anyway, Lunar Eclipse says, yeah, the most complex device I have repaired was a Nikon D80 DSLR. That took me 3 days. Oh, I would not have the courage to do that. I am not a electronics person. I'm scared of it. Although a Google Pixel 4a battery replacement was arguably more painful to deal with due to all the glue. Oh, I can imagine. Okay, I can postpone and purchase and dedicate 750 euros to it. I think the price is going to be a limiting factor here, but we'll see. Because this is a bad time to buy anything. It's a bad time to buy anything with RAM. It's a bad time to buy anything that does anything, that computes. Real bad time. I'm fortunate because I bought a bunch of computers before the RAM apocalypse. And so, somewhere in my other rooms, I have like a 128 gigabyte RAM, 16 core system, right? And that was expensive. It wasn't cheap because it's like a real workstation, but it's, RAM was nowhere near the current price, right? It would be enormously expensive now. It's not super urgent. I want to get something on mid. Okay, so you have some time. Okay, that's good. I expect it to take me like 2 weeks to figure out setting up the OS. I've never used Linux with a touchscreen yet, only with a pen, tablet, and keyboard. Okay. Good stylus with pressure sensitivity. Okay, good is the word good is doing a lot of work here, but we're going to straighten it out. I have the impression that I wouldn't enjoy diagonal. Yeah, I think you would not enjoy it either. But you might not notice it, by the way. Lunar Eclipse says, it's a terrible time to buy, but I'm open to buying used. Okay. I've only tried LP170, Apple Pencil Pro, and S Pen. So I haven't experienced any particularly bad stylus to have a frame of reference. If you're happy with the S Pen, then that's actually good, because the S Pen is not a great pen. So if you're okay with it, that's a good sign, because it means that you are tolerant to, you're not used to like the crazy best pen, which we're going to talk about. Memodraw says, sounds like what you want is the new Framework Pro laptop. Good point. I know some Framework laptop does have stylus support, but not sure about the new Pro framework. I think they added some support for like a AES, or sorry, USI stylus, something like that, for the small framework laptop, the 12-inch. Ideally, keyboard with arrow cluster keys are 2, 3U or larger. My big fingers are not really compatible with 1, 2U. I don't exactly know what those words mean. We'll look it up. Keyboard may have language stickers, but must not be reprinted. Okay. What you've considered, fantastic. Nice screen, MPP pens, Linux drivers, a community effort, various issues. Yeah, I definitely would not go with Surface. By the way, I own a lot of Surface computers, a lot. And I think this comment here is pretty much what is correct. I would not steer people to using Linux on a Surface machine. It seems too specialized. I've seen many threads on Linux Surface GitHub repository about suspend issues, a classic Microsoft Windows problem. Oh, who makes the Surface? Oh, Microsoft. Interesting. And this doesn't sound fun to deal with. I'm going to just rant for a second because the U means unit. So if you have one of those normal square keys with a letter, okay, got it. You're talking about, okay, thank you. So this is one of the things I had occasional wake-up problems with my Surface. I mean, several Surface units and hot bagging issues. And, I bought my Surfaces when I was a Microsoft employee, and this always frustrated me because Microsoft owns both the hardware and obviously the software. And it doesn't come with bloatware on it. It comes with what Microsoft has designed to put on it. And it still has problems. So I'm like, Microsoft only has themselves to blame for this. And the fact that, if you own both ends of the stack from top to bottom, and it's expensive, I expect it to be basically perfect. Let's see. Hey, I have a Huion Inspirate 2M and ran into a weird issue when I use external and plus plus without the official detects my traffic. It's the official driver. A lot of words here. Then when it shows up as DIJ device or system mouse instead. I have no idea why that would happen. And this is with Windows. It must be because you say Windows Sync. Saul says, do you know if SSD prices are beginning to drop? I'm looking at getting another Crucial 4 terabyte. First one was a Microsoft for $250 on sale almost a year. See, that seems like a good price. I don't know if they're beginning to drop. Let's see. They're typically glued shut. I've actually had a chance to take a non-working Surface Pro and rip it apart. It is not geared to be easily opened up. I'll say that. So I have experience with opening one up and destroying it. This was deliberate. Because it wasn't working anyway, so I was messing around. They're typically glued shut, with some models being effectively impossible to repair. Yeah, that's what I found. There's a high likelihood you'll destroy the screen. I know I've seen some videos where people remove it safely, but you have to be super careful to do that. Cube says, Huion driver sends Windows Ink to a generic virtual device driver separate from the tablet. The PNP device driver, no driver, is sending from one of the tablet's device drivers itself. So it's doing something, would you say, Cube, is doing something unique? And is it weird what it's doing? It sounds weird. Maybe there's a reason they're doing it, though. I'm curious. iPad Air, Apple Pencil Pro, great screens, I agree. Apple Pencil Pro is pretty good stuff. Yeah, I agree with that. Lockdown software, can't make an app without $100 a year subscription. True. Note-taking app, feel very polished. I'd agree with that. I mean, not everyone likes Procreate, but I think it's a polished app. On-screen keyboard is confusing. I would agree with that as well. I've tried to use the iPad or the iPad Pro as an actual full PC. It doesn't work. I just don't think it's there. Maybe one day it will be. I briefly started looking into what apps I would need for an iPad to work with my other devices and existing workflow seems like it'd be quite costly. Yes, I would agree with that. An Apple refurbished M3 iPad Air would probably be way past my budget already. Samsung Tab S8, 9, 10 FE. Good screens, EMR pens. Yeah, decent pens. Oh, okay. Cube says it's totally normal to do it this way. Everyone except Wacom does. Okay, good for me to know. Can you elaborate on what Wacom does? Because that's the missing thing I don't know either. A family member has an A series Samsung tablet, which died suddenly, causing him to refuse to start. A repair technician took a look at it. Apparently, this is a common problem, and repair wouldn't make financial sense. I heard that nowadays Samsung often 7-year software updates. Yeah, I think that's right, 7 years for some higher end models. Yeah, Tab S11 Ultra, Tab S8 Ultra. I have Tab S8 Ultra, the Tab S11 Ultra. I know that's maybe higher end than you're looking for, but yeah, they've been they get a lot of updates and they seem to work very well. The PNP driver is not really there for Windows. It's more so to have support for systems like Android, which cannot install manufacturer drive. Right. OTD works the same way or different? Oh, I should show my OTD app. I didn't explain what that means. So, setting up OTD on Windows is really challenging. Like it's real work. It's gotten better thanks to people like Cube, actually. But I did basically I wrote an app, vibe coded. Yeah, I vibe coded an app that embeds OTD in it. And basically my app is just a fancy UI to make it simpler to configure OTD for Windows. So maybe I'll show it later. I'm on a Mac right now, so I can't really show it. But maybe in another stream I'll show it. But it's getting simple enough that I'm going to add a few more features to it, but I think I could actually just switch to using it. Wacom installs a device driver on top of the device itself, which probably would fix this particular issue, but it's one of the reasons things can be randomly unreliable and interesting. It is surprising to me that there's a difference in how tablet drivers are implemented. I would have just thought everyone did the same pattern. The only note-taking app I found on Android without predatory monetization or suspicious account handling and matching my preference was Samsung Notes. So that would be one problem solved. Dell 2-in-1 business laptops. OTD sends Windows Ink pretty much identical to Huion driver. Sorry, I'm looking at Dell 2-in-1s. Dell 2-in-1, unremarkable MPP pens, good repairability, moderately common, but pens are rare. Lenovo 2-in-1s. Notoriously bad screens, I didn't know that. MPP pens. Great official Linux support, which is good. Good build quality, repairability, legendary keyboards. X1, X15 Yoga, widely available, X12 rare. Samsung 2-in-1 laptops. Only found them today, actually. Okay screens, EMR pens. For a Galaxy Book 2 Pro 360, the repairability seems decent. Tuxedo 2-in-1 laptops. MPP stylus, good screen, good repairability. If keyboard is similar to the TPG, I forgot what TP15G1 is, then it's fairly good. Noticeably worse than Logitech Pop icon keys, but does the job. Discontinued. Okay, summary. I've been researching options for over a month. Blissfully unaware of issues, some common active pens. Open the suggestions about basically everything. So I think the question I would ask Lunar Eclipse is, we got a little bit of the sense of it, but about the apps you're going to run. But there's a fundamental question that maybe you can clarify, which is, do you need to run the desktop version of apps like Photoshop? Because if the answer to that is yes, that leads down certain paths, okay? I don't think you're overthinking MPP versus USI, by the way. Let's see. Yeah, I think if I had to look at everything you've named, honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about diagonal wobble, but definitely I don't see much in the Samsung, right? I think it does a very good job of that. And I own 2 Samsung laptops, a Galaxy Book 5, and I think which is the latest one? Is it 5 or 6? I can't remember. But I own 2 of them, the latest one and the one before that. The problem is with your budget, you're looking at an older one. So, I want to make sure I'm talking correctly. But if you need to run a full desktop, that would be a good bet, honestly. If you're really doing more note-taking, even though the iPad has diagonal wobble, most people don't notice, right? Most people don't notice because you have to be drawing pretty slow. And in fact, it happens sometimes only when you're drawing with a ruler. So, at least for the iPads, I don't think diagonal wobble is an actual problem people really experience. It's pretty rare that they experience. It's there, but people don't draw slow enough for it to appear, right? So, there's 3 choices that stand out for me here: the Galaxy Book, the Samsung S series, not the A series, and those both use the S Pen. So they're UD-EMR, they work pretty well. And I like the S Pen, by the way. I like the S Pen. Another advantage of the Samsung is you get the S Pen, which is not true of the Apple iPad. So if I had to steer you down a direction, I'd probably lead you down the Samsung direction, honestly. But it will be contingent on what's available and the budget you have, because the latest Book Pros, Samsung Books Pro or Galaxy Book Pros, are very good, but they are pretty expensive. Let's see. Looks Maxing says your guide was helpful, but I wanted to ask. Am only into note taking and I don't do any to digital art. So what should I consider buying? Huion Frago. Looks Maxing. The issue with note taking for you is this. I think note taking on a pen tablet, meaning screenless tablet, is weird. It doesn't feel good to me. It feels weird to do it. It only feels good on a tablet with a screen. Okay. So I really just don't normally recommend any kind of screenless tablet for note taking. Okay. Now, if what you're doing is whiteboarding, it'll work. If what you're doing is photo editing, it'll work. If you're doing digital signatures, it might work. I'm not sure you'd be happy with note taking. That's my concern about the screenless tablets you've mentioned. Let's see, Lunar Eclipse. The Lenovo sometimes have one top tier screen option that's decent, and it's gotten better slowly, but some of the default ones are really bad. Interesting. One more comment, because you said I really want a good stylus experience. It's a weird thing, but there is only one company that's giving like excellent stylus experience. We all know the answer to this. It's Wacom. Okay, Wacom and the Moving Pad Pro 14 and the Moving Pad 11. Okay. The UD-EMR works okay. It's fine. It's decent. There's nothing bad about it. But nothing matches the Pro Pen. The Apple Pencil, in a technical sense, might come in the same place as a Pro Pen, but it just feels weird. It's just a weird implementation. Some people like it, some people don't. I can sort of tolerate it. I don't want to say it's bad. It's different if you're using an EMR pen. How one feels, how much it weighs, the weight distribution, the way the pressure works. You might find using the Apple Pencil weird. Okay, not bad. It's just different enough that you might say this is weird. Saul asks, what is a good standalone tablet that's on the level of the iPad, but which can take an SD card? Well, I don't know here. Let me just take a look here. I don't know what devices like that take a SD card. I just looked at the Moving Pad Pro 14. Does not have an SD card reader. I don't recall that the Samsungs do. Maybe they do, but I don't recall that. I can check. There's no Photoshop natively available for Linux, so at least that's not a concern. I will probably use Krita for drawing, not sure what for note-taking. How about OneNote? If you get an Android tablet, OneNote runs as an Android app. Now, you obviously have to be, I think, use Office or subscribe to Office to use it. Though it may work without a subscription. I'm not sure. Moving Pad Pro does have an S. Does it? Oh, yeah, it does. You're right. Totally forgot about it. It's right here. Yeah. I looked at this and thought it was the volume thing. Yeah, there is a micro SD slot right there. Okay, yeah. Thanks for clarifying that. I forgot about that. So there's one answer to help. Thank you, MemoryDraw. Thank you. So I think the Samsung and you know probably the Samsung Galaxy Tab S something would fit your budget. There's OneNote is a good note-taking app. There are others. You have to play around. And the S Pen's actually decent. Like I don't have a problem with it. And there are good drawing apps as well, if that's ever what you want to do. Okay, so I'll keep on looking for Lunar Eclipse to have any more questions. But I want to move on to our next topic, and hopefully Cube is still here because we're going to talk about my discoveries over the weekend. So let me lay the groundwork for you. We talk about IAF on this channel all the time, don't we? Right? Low IAF, high IAF, good, S tier IAF, A tier IAF, you know, it's a mess. And I want, you know, I last week we did a little bit of run through of a PowerPoint presentation, which I'm going to record as a video. But basically I talked through the evidence about why there is such a thing as S tier. Like, is it real? S tier means pens that have a super low IAF of less than 1 gram force. The answer was yes, and I showed several pieces of evidence. I said Wacom specifically says this about one of their pens. The other, I see Lunar Eclipse has a question here. I'm honestly still confused on the differences in comparison between the different pen types and that aren't EMR. I guess I'll summarize it like this. EMR has the best drawing feeling. Apple Pencil is like, it's well engineered, okay? It's well engineered, feels a little bit different from EMR, but works fine. USI is total crap. I wouldn't recommend it. If you care about drawing, I would not recommend it. If you're okay handwriting, it might work fine. But whatever you do, do not buy a USI stylus or a tablet that requires it without trying it out, okay? I've seen people with like e-ink things with USI and they're like, hey, they love it. But they're not drawing. And that's why I know you're not looking for drawing, you're looking for note-taking. So that's, it's hard to explain, but basically what Brad Colbo mentioned with USI seemed like it had a lot of wobble. I don't think it had less lag. AES is, let's just say it's on par with USI, probably a bit better to be quite honest. It also has a lot of wobble. Not a lot, but depending on the pen, it can be quite a bit or somewhat little, right? The Microsoft Slim Pen 2 has very little wobble compared to previous MPP pens, right? So ultimately wobble is the big deal, right? That is the big deal. And of course you have to recharge them. Pressure works okay. But nothing feels quite as natural as EMR. Maybe I'm biased. But yeah, I would not normally steer you toward USI or MVP But if you try it, you got to try, if you're going to get them, try it out with the apps you're going to use. Okay, back to IAF. So Cube has been able to measure Wacom pens. You know, he's got a list in his Wacom tablet master sheet. Many of them at less than 1 gram force. Okay. Now, what I want to do was, I've been measuring IAF and I'm not good at it. But every couple of months I revise my software and my hardware, my testing, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this in a better way. And I've got new tools to help me. Okay. Now, just let me see if I actually have a picture of a part of the tool for a second. Because if you see it, I want you to understand a little bit of how I do this. And don't worry, I'm not going to show you. I'm going to show you what the app, the data I have, in a sense. Where's the? Give me a second. I think I found it. Okay, give me a second. Okay, this is a good screenshot. Okay. So this is a screenshot of my tool, which I wrote manually, but I did ask Claude Code to assist me. And this is a crap screenshot. Let's try this again. Hang on. Where did my folder go? I literally lost track of my folder. Yeah, this is better. Okay. So, you know, I have a scale that's hooked up to a tablet. And the tablet's hooked up to a computer. So I can get readings of scale, physical force, and logical force, logical pressure from the tablet. And I plot those numbers. So I just want to show you the data. I collect the data like this, okay? And you focus on this chart on the left. Can I zoom in a little bit? I think I should be able to, at least to some degree. Can I? Okay, that's good enough. Oh, maybe I can scale a little bit more. Okay. Bottom is physical force scale, meaning x-axis, y-axis is the logical. So what are you seeing here is a bunch of dots, okay? Now, the size of the dot is how many measurements were at that specific coordinate. The bigger the dot, the more data I got at that specific value, okay? So a small dot means I just got 1 reading, 2 readings, but if you see a bigger dot, it's I got 20 readings, 30, 50, maybe 100 readings, okay? So you want big dots. What I do is I put weight on the scale. I try not to do this with my hands. The weight, sort of the scale settles, and it slowly increases the pressure, okay? So it starts at like 1 point something gram force, and it climbs up by 1, 0.1, 0.2, hopefully slowly. And this collects it. And of course it sticks at certain values for a while. That's why the dots get bigger. And what do you notice here is that for this pen, doesn't matter which pen it is, there's a whole bunch of readings where for the physical force applied from 0 to about 4 point something, they're all just, they're all on the y-axis 0, meaning the pen says no pressure. It's under the IAF. So from like 4.7 to below, or 4.5 to below, it's 0, pen says 0% pressure. Now, as I increase, we're going to skip the middle part. You're going to see at some point, there's a bunch of dots at top. And basically, at that point, the pressure is always 100%. All right, thanks for your help. Need to go sleep now. Good night. Dobranoc. Have a good sleep. Have a good sleep. And so what you can see here is there are some values of physical pressure where we're pretty sure this pen is not getting any data. It's at 0%. And there's some values where, hey, it's at 100%. So between those horizontal bars, these regions, somewhere in here is the IAF, okay? Now you're seeing a few dots here scattered here. That's because when the scale gets bumped or I move the weights, things jump around a little bit. So this is normal, okay? You don't need to read too much into this. Now, the question is, what do we do about this middle section, which climbs, okay? Let's just take a look at the middle section, this one dot in the middle. What this means is, let's just say this is right above, like I said, 55% logical pressure. Roughly speaking, half the, so you can see it's a bigger dot, so we have lots of readings. Let's say we have 50 readings. Half the readings were at 0 and half were at non-zero. And the proportion tells you how up or down this dot is. So this dot, like 92% of the readings were, they were not 0. In this dot, something like 10% of, 90% of them were actually 0, right? Only 10%, 8 or 9% were like not 0. So here's the first question. Where do we count IAF in this chart? Now, I took the approach that we want a solid IAF, meaning the first time I'm looking at this and I see that the pressure sticks consistently at 100. Like it's not wavering, right? Like I wouldn't pick this as the IAF because half the time in this range, and this range is like, let's just say 3.5 to 4 to 4.25, it's wavering. It's like, do you want to count that as the IAF or not? Okay, that's a question. I counted the top part, the first top, essentially, as the IAF. I could have counted the first non-zero dot up here, and this would make it a little bit less, right? But I would count up here. So that's the first question. How should we count IAF according to this chart? So I need you to know that this is how I measured IAF, okay? So my numbers might be a little higher than what you see with Q, okay? So let's see what we have discovered. Give me a second. I'm going to load the data. This is all fresh data. I've just finished collecting data yesterday. First of all, let's take a look at my analysis of IAF. This is a distribution of all the IAF of all 38 different pen models, 126 pen units that I measured, okay? Nick, he had a video today published about basically talking about Wacom and what just looking at what they have to offer, right? Which is good. We need videos like that. So you can see in my analysis, most, you can see like they're distributed quite widely, the IAF. The median is 5.5, so median means half or less than 5.5, half or greater, okay? Lots of pens, IAFs, are clustered right around 3 to 4.5, and the median is 5.5, right? Because we have a long tail. That's why the median is pushed to the right. So 50% of pens that I measured have an IAF less than 5.5 gram force, okay? The maximum pen I measured, which I think is, I need to remeasure, is like 16, okay? Now, which pens have the lowest IAF according to my measurements? Okay, so this is by model. Remember, I have multiple units of each model. So, surprise, surprise, Wacom is all over the place here. Now, look at the numbers. You look at the medians. Wacom and 204 Art Pen, 1.5 gram force. I'm going to skip Sense Labs. We'll talk about it in a minute. Wacom and 204 Pro Pen, 2.0 gram force. I measured two different pens there. In 204 Grip Pen, 2.3. These are relatively low numbers. So they're not quite where Cube is reading, but at least I am getting there. And you have to keep in mind how I'm measuring, right? So you've got to, when I show you numbers, we got to take a look at, we have to baseline it off what my lowest is, okay? So here's the first surprise. The Wacom Art Pen KP701E in my measurements had the lowest IAF, surprised the hell out of me. Now let's take a look at specific units. These are models. Let's look at specific units. We'll look at the top 20 or the top 20 low IF units in 204 art pen, in 204 art pen, in 204 pro pen. And WAP, this means Wacom art. That's my inventory number. So I can actually identify which pen had which measurement, right? SenseLabs is in here, but this SenseLabs number uses an estimation value. So I wouldn't look at it quite yet. But Wacom is really dominating this low IAF world. There are some XP pens in here at 2.5. There's another one somewhere in here, I thought. This is an X3 notepad pen. Right? So we'll take a look at some of these, and we're going to find out some quite interesting things. So let's compare some pens, okay? Let's pick art pen, the best so far, according to my measurements, the lowest pressure I've seen, with the Art Pro Pen 2. KP 701, I believe. Okay, let's flag it. Oh, sorry, I want 503. My mistake. Or 4. Yep. Let's compare. Take a look at this. So, if we compare them together, right? They're this range, right? But if you compare them individually, take a look at what we find. My 3 art pens are super tight. They're right at 1.5, right? So that gives you some. These are 2 or 3 different pens. Let's take a look at the actual units of 2 different pens. So the fact that 2 separate pens have the same thing, same measurement, is pretty good. We're up Pro Pen 2. Now Cube's measurements show less than 1 gram force. I'm reading them as 3 point something. They're still very tightly clustered. Why do I have a higher number than Cube? And just to be explicit about this topic, because it can be confusing, I absolutely think Cube is better at measuring IF than I am. So this is something I've got to work on and talk to Cube and others about. Maybe I'm measuring the wrong way, so I need to get input, okay? I believe that there's input I could be given which would lower these numbers through remeasuring or reinterpreting numbers I have, right? But this is what I see. But right now, the first thing that I've established here is I'm actually capable of measuring a low IF pen, 1.5. I'd like to go to less than 1, but at least I'm in the ballpark. So we can say Wacom is dominating the low IF zone. Let's take a look at one more pen here, which is, of course, the Pro Pen 3. Okay, let's take a look at the IF here. So Art Pen right here, Pro Pen 2 right here at about 3.4. What about Pro Pen 3? It's a little bit higher, according to my measurements, 3.6. Okay, so it's in the same general zone as the Pro Pen 2. Okay, what about Art Pen 2? Let's add that to the mix. That is ACP 700. And then we look at IF. Art Pen 2 is right at 3.3. So there is some consistency in the Pro Pen 3 and Art Pen 2 because those are the same generation, right? But I'm still not getting these kind of like, you know, I've never gotten a less than 1 gram force reading. But I'm getting 1.5 for the Art Pen 1. That's interesting. So how does the competition stack up compared to Wacom? Well, let's take a look. Some interesting surprises here. Let's take a look at pen models. We'll take a look at PW600. We're going to add them. And we're going to add the X3 Pro from XP Pen. Let's see. Cube says your measurements for Pro Pen 3 match mine, by the way. Though I never got to put it on my sheet. I think Pro Pen 2 IF may have degraded over time. That's another topic. So I measured some old pens. We're gonna talk about IF degradation. So this is an interesting topic. Let's take a look at the comparison here. But that's good news, because the more I can repeat something with cube, the more it says I'm on the right track. Okay. I just gotta, now I feel like I'm good at 2 gram force, maybe 1.5. Now I gotta get into that sub 1 category. Let's compare the IAF now. So now we're comparing, so you can see where Wacom is, right? My lowest is 1.5. I'm starting to see 3.3, 3.5. Good numbers, good numbers. What about PW600? Not bad. Do you see this? So what we see, the PW600 is overlapping the Pro Pen 3. Here's PW600. Here is Pro Pen 3. There's a good amount of overlap here. What does this tell you? At least according to my data, which could be flawed, the PW600 pen, I have 5 of these units, right? Are you trying to measure real numbers or get the numbers you want to get? I'm trying to measure real numbers, but we have a mystery. We have a mystery that has to be solved, Nick, which is if I'm doing things correctly, Cube and I should agree. Okay? On low IAF pens. And I just want to reiterate one more time. For pens that are less than 2 gram force, less than 1.5, I trust his numbers. Because he's shown me how he measures. He's talked about it. It's very clear. He does this very carefully. So there can be something in how I measure or how I analyze the numbers, which is why I showed you all that graph, okay? We need to decide. Let me give you an example. Let's suppose I have 100 readings, okay? And at a specific force, physical force. And one of the readings shows a non-zero logical pressure. Should I count that as, let's just say 10%. So 10 out of 100 show more than 0% pressure, non-zero. Should I count that as the IF or not? Some people would say, yeah. But I would say, well, I'm not confident that that would be realistic. So that's a conversation I think Cube and I have to have about how to. Now, one thing, Cube, if you're there, I'm gonna release my tool. It's actually available now. The next time you measure, can you try it out? For those of you wondering where this tool is, I'm just gonna show it to you real quick. Anyone can use it, but you need a US solid scale. And Cube has the same scale I'm using. Give me a second, let me get to... It's called Pen Pressure Profiler. What a creative name, right? Let's see, continue, login, profiler. It may not be obvious how to use the tool. And yes, again, it is built by manual code that I vibe coded on top of. So I know that, I always want to be honest about it. So here it is. It's called Pen Pressure Profiler. I'm going to just put it in the chat for anyone who wants to try. And it's actually, there are binary releases as well. So there was one as of yesterday. That's always getting a little bit better. Obviously Windows only. It lets you pick between Windows Ink or WinTab, right? I have not found a difference between the two. I made it support Windows Ink because I wanted to try it with Open Tablet Driver. So actually, a lot of the measurements I'm about to show you, or that I am showing you right now, I did with the Open Tablet Driver because it was easier. Cube says, if you can place a force on the pen small enough that it makes the logical pressure flicker between 0 and 1, that would be the exact IF force I'd say, but this is nearly impossible to do. Got it. For me, that would be, just to visually interpret it, give me a second. It would be this dot right here, right? Let me see if I can show you. So I think I actually have the numbers here. Oh, it's the stupid screenshot. I hid the numbers in the screenshot. Let's see if this happens. This works. This should do it. Oh, I didn't have it there. Okay, anyway. What this dot being in the middle means half the time it was on, half the time it's off. Slightly more on than off, right? So let's see how this changes things. according to this, I probably picked the IAF of this to be something like 6.25 or 6.5, okay? That's what the purple kind of means. It means like that's clearly on, it's on 80% or more of the time. But if I follow Cube's recommendation, I would actually go as low as this dot, which would place this not at 6.5, but something like 5.8, something like that, okay? So that's at least half a gram force of improvement or lowering, right? So that half gram force is important because maybe that brings my art pen number from 1.5 to 1, maybe, okay? It doesn't solve the fact my Pro Pen 2 is still at 3.4 gram force, but at least it's helping. It's helping, okay? Now, back to here. So PW600 is overlapping with Pro Pen 2. It's overlapping with Pro Pen 3, and at least according to mine, it's overlapping with Pro Pen 2, okay? One more thing I want to talk about. It's not shown in the graph. It's about a thing that's not here, which is the Pro Pen 2 that had the metal nib, the Pro Pen 2 that I did this to 10 times from desk height, okay? And I made sure it landed on its tip, the nib. I measured its IAF at 6 gram force. It's excluded from these measurements. It says so right here. Yeah, 5.7 gram force because I put a metal nib and I dropped it. Okay, so I believe that's not a fair. I mean, I did measure it. I don't count it in my stats because it's a messed up pen, I believe. Okay. So, and that's what this little note here says. Okay, what about X3 Pro pen? Did I add it here? I thought I did. Hang on. Maybe I didn't add it. Okay, I'll try that again. X3 Pro. I'm gonna have to add it like this. I have a bunch of them, but I'm gonna do Pro. Okay, here we go. X3 Pro. So I found it to be higher, but it is, so it's more variation, right? Now, it gets down into the same Pro Pen 3 range, but that's its lower bound. Its upper bound can be much greater. So X3 Pro is a bit weird. What about X3 Elite? X3 Elite. Let me flag it. Go back and compare. Sorry, I know this UI is messed up. I'm gonna make a better UI for this. X3 Elite, X3 Elite, oddly enough, was a little bit better than the X3 Pro. X3 Elite's not bad. It has as much variation, but it's, you know, it's actually as good. So X3 Elite, surprisingly good pen. What about the old? That was the non-pro version of XP pen. What about the Huion PW517 and PW550? We gotta take a look at those, don't we? I have shown getting less than 1 gram force, 6.6 gram force on a pen sitting stable at single-digit pressure values. So it isn't required to get to 0-1 pressure. It is beyond what I can do generally to get pressure. Yeah, every now and then I'm able to get a pen that goes exactly pressure level 1, but it's like 1 out of 20 pens, right? Yeah, Nick, I dropped it. Well, hey, look, I sacrificed a pen to the gods, right, for science. And let's take a look at PW517. So interesting, this is going to be another video I'll make. My next video is going to be about S-tier IAF, and the next video after that's going to be about comparing IAF. This is where controversies start, right? Okay, let's take a look at pens and then look at compare. So we'll go all the way down to PW5. This is my latest number, so not great here. 8 gram, like they're tightly clustered, but I find them at 8 something, right? Now this doesn't make sense to me. I've traditionally found that PW550 feels like it has less IAF than X3 Elite, X3 Pro. But here it seems higher. So there is something going on here. I don't know what it is. Of course I'm going to remeasure. What about PW517? Really, it's what I expected. Look at the median. It's right around 8. This is around 8 as well. So PW550's IAF was not supposed to be better than PW517. So they are very close to each other. Okay, so I'd say they're, you can see that. But they're not great. Now what about our buddies, the Wacom 1 pen series? CP 913, 923. Let's take a look at those. 923. See, 923 is up here for me. I have 4 of these units, by the way. So relatively tightly clustered, but at 9 gram force. CP 913, more variation. Hi there, Yellow Paint. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. 913, I got lots of variation. Now, look, I measured these pens once each. I gotta keep measuring them. I try to do them as often as I can because I want to develop multiple measurements for each specific unit, okay? Because you want to know, for a unit, how much do my measurements vary? Do they vary because of humidity, because of time of day, lunar cycle, who knows? But one thing I can say is, these older Huion pens are basically, they're in the same range as Wacom consumer pens. Okay? And these newer Huion pens, or this one, PW600, it's pretty good. I would say it's basically according to my numbers, it's at Pro Pen 3 quality. Now, I want to make sure this point's clear because I'm going to put my face on it when I say this. I'm not a tablet scientist. I'm just a guy who has a lot of free time and a scale and pays for a Claude Code account to Vibe Code. I'm showing you the numbers I have, not because they are the definitive answer to all these questions. Not because my numbers are perfect. I want to make sure you absolutely understand. I'm trying to show you all the messy details. So hopefully you can help me by coming with ideas about how to measure. Hopefully you can come up with, hopefully some of you will be motivated to buy a scale and measure things. We exist in a world where a lot of us don't, us meaning the community of drawing tablet users, don't have clear data, okay? We rely on vibes and we rely on what the manufacturers tell us. I could be completely wrong. I'm okay being wrong, but and I'll continue to improve my process. And I'm just going to share with you the data I have. And I've pointed out all the problems I have with my data today. Number one, they don't match Cube's data in some cases. In some cases they do. Pro Pen 3 matches him. Pro Pen 2 does not. Okay? I think Art Pen came very close actually. So that was good. In some cases, bad in other cases. We revealed some things that don't make sense to me. To me, the PW517, 550, even the PW600, or let's say 517 and 550, have actually felt like they have lower IAF than the X3 Pro Pen. It's not what my numbers say. How do we explain this? Okay? I'm at a lot. Maybe it's the nib material. Maybe it's the textured surface. I don't know. All I can do is keep on measuring, keep on refining, and ask for help. Okay? So I'm doing this to be open and honest with you about what I have. Right? I'm sure for some people, my data does not match their experience. It doesn't even match my experience in some cases. Half the time I'm like, okay, this makes sense. This is what I feel with my hand. Half the time I'm like, no, this doesn't feel with my own. It does not match my hand's experience or my brain's experience. Real mystery for me. Okay, one more set of pens I want to show you is the... Okay, let me clear all these. Because I need to show them all as one unit. I'm going to show you UDEMR, Samsung S Pen, better. Okay? Give me a second. I'll get it all ready here. Let's take a look at these. Okay, let's take a look at IAF. Woo, look at this. Okay, so the median is great. I mean, well, it's okay, 7 gram force, but there's a wide variation. Now, where does this wide variation come from? Well, it's a specific pen. The S Pen Creator unit I have is at 16.5. Everyone else, 7.5, 6, 5.5, 7. We've got one outlier. I'm starting to believe S Pen Creator, it's not bad. I believe this is a defective pen. So I might want to exclude this from the measurements. If I do that, that means this UDMR pen is actually about, we found that the CP913 and CP923 were like 8 something, maybe 9. This is in the same ballpark. Okay? At least it's reasonable. At least it's reasonable. So that's my measurements. I'm going to continue measuring, continue trying to improve what's going on here. Okay? And hopefully, again, some of you will be motivated to measure and share your data, right? And let's thank Cube for being the first person I know of that measured in a structured way, because that inspired me to invest a lot of time into trying to measure, okay? And we want to get this measurement. We want to be able to come back to Wacom and whoever else and say, hey, you can do better here. I would say right now, for example, according to my data, I would say Huion, I would give them this. I've always felt the PW600 pen was good. I've got data that supports it. Okay. So I've always felt the X3 was a little bit more had more variation. I've got data that supports that, right? I've got some things that contradict my experience as well, but we'll have to deal with that. So that is my IAF data. I will continue to work on it. Okay, next thing, let me find my next set of topics. Oh, I need to talk about these bands. I used to call this, oops, not this. Where am I? What am I seeing here? Here we go. Okay. I used to call these names like S tier was actually excellent, then great, then good, then okay. So let's take a look at pens and take the IAF analysis. So then we have to ask ourselves a philosophical question. I base these bands on some thinking, okay? Meaning, what is the range for S? A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier. So we have to ask a question. Are the bands, this actually relates to what Nick was asking earlier. Are the bands expressing a desire of the way things should be? In other words, are they prescriptive? Are they saying, here's what we want? Or should these bands be descriptive? Right now, the bands are prescriptive. They are an attempt to say what things should be. S, if you're between 0 and 1, you should be an S tier. And I've sliced A, B, and C saying, well, you're within these range, it's good or bad, whatever, right? But as I look at the data, what does the data tell us? The data tells us that half the pens are below C tier. So should the bands instead be descriptive? Because what this does is, I have no other word for this, it slanders some pens that maybe shouldn't be slandered. Maybe these bands are just too aggressive. Maybe they're misleading in a sense because they portray a picture where half the pens you'll ever encounter are failures in the D tier. Maybe as an alternative, the S tier, I'm just throwing this out. I'd love your feedback. Maybe S tier should go from 0 to 1.5. Maybe A tier should go from 1.5 to 3. Maybe 3 should go from 3 to 6. and maybe C tier should go from 6 to like 12. I kind of feel bad that something that's 16 gram force is ranked in the same bucket as something that's 5.5. Do you see how weird those numbers are? Like, they're in the same bucket, but your experience will be quite different. So what should we do? What should we do? Right? So this is where, again, I'd like your feedback. Should we revise the bands? Now, I think I'd love to hear from Cube. You don't have to do it right now, but like, it'd be good also. I'd like to hear from Tablet Kitten, from, of course, everyone in the Discord. Maybe we have 2 sets of bands. I don't know, right? But I think the current bands are maybe unfair. That's my thought. Okay, I mean, according to my data, nothing's in the S tier, which is like, if you're trying to make a purchase decision and nothing is in S tier, then it's not helpful for you. Again, maybe I'll adopt Cube's measuring strategy and like some things will be in S tier, but you see the dilemma I'm in, right? That's what I have to figure out. So you tell me, should it be prescriptive or descriptive? I don't know. Every other day I switch between the two. Okay. Okay, so we have a couple of things I want to talk about. One more thing is just a doc I wrote. Well, it was in response to a surprisingly common question on Reddit, which is people want to replace the USB port on their tablet because it's broken, or they want to go from micro USB to USB-C. I wrote a quick doc on it. I'm just gonna paste it in chat. I did a little bit of research. Basically, the doc is trying to convince you not to do it because it's dangerous, right? I would not be I am not qualified to do it, so I don't recommend people. I do recommend finding an expert. So let me find the doc here. I just want to make sure people see the doc. Okay, let's see. Replace USB port. If people have feedback on this, I would love to get that feedback. Okay, Control C, Control V. Okay, now that's in chat as well. Nick says, I'm afraid if you send Wacom an email with Excel graphs and numbers, it will make the same effect as if you just wrote them, please make better tablets. I don't know. Look, I'd like to think they'd take it in stride, right? Maybe, listen, I'm the kind of optimist that says maybe sharing data will cause them to share more data. Maybe they'll share something about the process. Maybe they'll say, this is how we measure pressure. And I'd love to see that. Maybe we'll learn something. Maybe everyone will learn. Maybe Huion will learn something. Maybe XP Pen will learn something. Okay, so I put the document there. If you have comments on it, it's just basically just telling people like, this is an expert level. Here, I'm going to show you the picture here. If you're going to replace a USB port, it's an X. Here's why you do it. It is a really tough task. Most people are probably not qualified to do it. I give some alternatives in some cases, like if you're trying to replace a micro USB port, get an adapter. Otherwise, get experts from local maker spaces or electronics repair places. But there's a normal person is going to destroy their tablet, honestly. And then I have some links to people who have videos or blog posts where they've done this, right? Again, I would not be comfortable doing it. Okay, and then one more thing I want to cover is Brad's video. So we're going to just watch his video. I haven't seen it, just a minute or two. I'm going to do a little bit of reaction to it. So give me a second. Let me set things up. And then our primary business is done and we can relax. Maybe we'll watch something. Let's see. YouTube. Brad Combo. Okay, I found it. His video is titled, let me turn off my music since it'll affect. Okay, and you should be able to hear what he's going to say. So it's called, What Are Wacom's Best Products in 2026? I have an idea what he's going to say, but let's see what he says.
Now, Wacom's really been on a roll recently. For a long time, their products were great, but their prices, not so much. When they did release a budget product, the competitors already had something better, and oftentimes for far less. So some of Wacom's products, really good products at a really good value, others on my, maybe you should skip this list. So let's check them out.
This is Brad. He likes to review the tech. He also likes to draw. And this here is his theme song.
The cringy theme songs will continue until each and every one of you.
I don't think it's cringy. I think it's a great theme song. I sing along every time it comes on. So I hope he keeps it. I think it's great.
Subscribe. So last year, Wacom has released a bunch of stuff. We got some new screenless Intuos Pro tablets. We also got some great Cintiq screen-based tablets. We even saw Wacom jump into the Android tablet market for the very first time. And we also got some Wacom One budget displays too. The only products that didn't really get a big update last year were their Cintiq Pro tablets, but those were already really, really good. So let's start there with those. I'm going to link all these products down below that I talk about here today, but a heads up, Amazon's Prime Day, or Prime Days as it is now, those are starting later this week, so you might want to hold off for a few days to see if any of these things go on sale before actually pulling the trigger. So these first products that I'm looking at, these Wacom Cintiq Pros, I'm going to give these a soft do not recommend. For most people,
That's a surprise, but I think I know why he's saying this.
I don't think these are the best options that are out there. It really comes down to price. When we're talking about the Cintiq Pros that come in three sizes, 17 inches, 22 inches, and a big old 27 incher, these are the most expensive drawing tablets on the market from any brand anywhere. And even though I don't recommend them, I think they're actually pretty good products. All of them come with this. This is the Pro Pen 3. It might be, in fact, I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say it is the best pen you can get for any device anywhere right now. I review a lot of different products, and what happens is if I'm reviewing like a Windows laptop or an Android tablet, something that comes with a pen.
Saul has a comment. Saw this earlier. Good video. Yeah, good to know. I'm looking forward to seeing what his comments are.
And there's always some adjustment phase where when I start drawing with the pen, I have to get used to it and kind of get a feel for it. And after a day or two, I kind of get into the flow and then I enjoy drawing with it. Maybe that pen doesn't do fast lines as well as I expected, or maybe there's just a little bit of a delay that I didn't think should be there, or the pressure is just a touch off. The great thing about the Pro Pen 3 is that no matter what device you use it on, I'm just instantly comfortable with it. It leaves such a great first impression, and that's hard to quantify with specs. It's 100% feel. These Pro tablets definitely are doing some of the lifting for that pen though. All these screens have a nice matte texture on the glass to them, and this gives the pen some drag.
The texture is really good, so I 100% agree with that comment.
And it feels much better than drawing on just this smooth glass. All four of these displays are 4K, and all four are also multi-touch. And what makes them so expensive is how they handle color. 100% Rec 709, 99% DCI-P3, a whole bunch of color presets already baked into this thing. This is also the kind of feature that really drives up the price of pro-level monitors. We saw this with the Apple Pro Display XDR just a few months ago. These can get really expensive. Now, the downside is that most pros, like even high-end pros, don't necessarily need this level of color accuracy, but some do, and that's why Wacom is offering these really at their pro level. And you may be,
I think one thing that would be really good here, honestly, is so the way Brad explained this. Actually, let me back up. Wacom's statements about these Cintiq Pros was that you could sort of use them without getting a super expensive reference monitor. So it would do two roles. It would play the role of a drawing tablet as well as a reference monitor. Now, I don't have a reference monitor. I'm not in a field that's needed, but at least that's how they pitched it. But it does indicate that if you're in a certain field, that would be useful. Now, the way Brad phrased it here is he's a soft not recommend. Let me try a more modest way of stating stating the same thing, which is this is, I would say it's not recommended for, or it's recommended for people who need color support. It's not needed for everyone else. And the people who need that color support are few and far between, and they know that they need it. Okay, like they know the exact reasons. Having said that, it's probably a good idea if we were able, not in the stream, but later, elaborate who needs this kind of color support. The way I have explained it to people is, well, if you're in a certain industry, I'll just give you a concrete example. If you need the color to be exact across multiple units, let's say you're all working on the same Marvel film, then it makes sense that your tablets and screens match each other because you need to collaborate in that way, right? So that makes sense. But if you're just sharing your work on the web with random people on phones and iPads and whatever, you don't need it. You'll be wasting your money, right? In other words, consistent color and accurate color are only, this is the way I would express it, are only useful in certain scenarios of people doing certain tasks. If you're not doing those tasks, you don't need it. Does that make sense? So I think that's something maybe we should, as a community, clarify and, write down. Because I think a lot of people, as they do with buying tech stuff, they just see all these specs, like, well, I just got to have all these things, right? Nick says it's true that 90% of users don't know much about color proofing. Yeah, exactly. I don't know anything. I know enough to know. I don't know and don't need, right? But I would just like us to be able to enumerate the scenarios and maybe the personas, so where it's needed. So someone who's buying a tablet knows they don't need it. Now, let's see. Nick says, if you draw for web, use sRGB only in almost any IPS. Yeah, I would agree with that. You don't need to be too picky about these things. All pen displays that are modern pen displays are good now, right? For this purpose of drawing for the web. You don't need to worry about it. In fact, it's more the case, you just have to avoid any bad ones. There are very few bad ones that are modern. And I don't know of any tablets that are bad that are modern. I know ones that are bad that are not modern, like the Wacom One DTC 123, which has a very washed out colors. But a modern tablet just doesn't have that. Okay, let's see.
Asking yourself right now, wait, am I one of those pros who needs that level of color accuracy in my display? And I think if you have to ask yourself that question, then the answer to the question is no, probably not. The people who need that level of accuracy know that they need it. And for those who do, these are great products.
I would add one thing there. They also know, like this scenario, how can I say it? They'd be able to explain what disaster would befall them if they didn't have it. Does that make sense? Right? They'd be able to explain, well, if I didn't have this, then in this scenario at work, something would go bad, right?
For the rest,
besides, like, someone won't see the exact color.
of us, you're probably...
Let's see, color proofing for printing is the main field where you need good color calibration. The thing is, pre-press guys don't need tablets, they use normal displays. Right.
Going to wind up spending thousands more than you really need to. So that would loop us back around to some products I do recommend, highly recommend.
There's one more thing he did not mention. I want to point it out. Let's just suppose you had money to burn, right? Why? So let's just say, you have $100,000. You can just spend it whatever you want. And like you won the lottery. Should you get a Cintiq Pro? There is one reason why you shouldn't get a Cintiq Pro. It is an important reason. It has nothing to do with what it looks like and the pen. They're loud. They're not loud like a jet engine, but you can hear the fans. And if you like quiet, they are not the tablets for you. They're not screaming at you, but if you work in a quiet environment, you'll hear it. And it's bad enough that my Cintiq Pro 22, which I love, I always keep its brightness at 50%. I want it a bit brighter, but the reason I don't do it is the brightness causes more heat, which requires more, the fan kicks on higher and I hear it. I hear it even at 50%, but it's not as bad as 75 or 100%. So that is the one flaw with these Cintiq Pros. Even if you had the money, it may not be the right choice. It may not be the right choice. Other than that, I really don't have any fundamental criticism of them.
This is the Wacom Cintiq 16 and the Wacom Cintiq 24. These tablets pull back on some of those hardcore specs, but you're still getting the Pro Pen 3 in the box here. The same drawing experience for a fraction of the price. Oh, before we jump in, quick shout out to today's sponsor.
Oh, let's go. Let's let his do his
And some homework so you can learn to draw and the fundamentals so you can tackle harder tutorials and courses later on. Learn more over at my website, bradsartschool.com. Okay, the Cintiq 16 and 24. The updates here bring these tablets in line spec-wise with some of their competitors. First of all, we have a 2.5K display. Some people call these 1440p displays. Those two terms are interchangeable. The last generation had 1080p displays, and those displays didn't look very good, and also were not bonded displays. They were not laminated displays, so there was a gap between the glass and the screen below them, so they didn't look nearly as modern, and oftentimes the stylus wasn't quite as accurate because of that. And those two things together make...
Oops, you're not seeing the... Oh, I'm so stupid. You're not seeing the thing. Let me go back.
There's a great,
you're looking at me just staring at the screen.
Last generation of Cintiq products. Now, one of the reason resolution matters so much is, yes, pixels look clearer, but also when you think about how you use a drawing tablet, you're like hovering directly over it. You get closer to a drawing tablet than you do a monitor, which might be much further out in front of you. So 1080p display sitting on your desk is going to look more pixelated than a 1080p display sitting a few feet in front of you. On the 16-inch display, I think 2.5 is great. On this size, fantastic.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that comment. I think at 16, that resolution works totally fine.
The 24-inch, once you get to that size, you do start to see pixels again because it's so much bigger. You're stretching the same number of pixels out over a much larger area. This is not going to look as crisp as your phone, but it is much, much better than the old 1080p screens. And I think this lower resolution is a good compromise because you're getting that huge price.
Let's see, Nick says, I don't care much about fans on Cintiq Pro 24. Would be nice to have it silent, but it's not critical for me. Main problem for me with current gen is price. Cintiq Pro 27 is 5K USD without stand. Wait a second. Cintiq Pro 27 should be 3.5K. Did the price change? Hang on. I think one of us has got the number wrong. Could be me. Cintiq Pro 27, but it should be 3.5 thousand, not 5. Yeah, here's what I see. I see 3.5. Are you said USD, but are you in a different, you're not, this is the United States price. Tell me, but you might be a different location, Nick. Yeah, 5,000 is crazy without stand. And the stand is $500.
Cut.
In EU, it's 5. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that, Nick. Wow.
Another feature that they have cut from here is touch. Although, for $200 more on the 24-inch, you can add that in. They also sell a Pro Pen 3 customization kit for these, and I would consider picking one of those up. It is $30. Maybe what you want to do is try the Pro Pen 3 first. It is a thinner pen. It's all metal. After a few days, if you want something wider, then...
I don't think his statement there is correct. If someone can correct me, but I think Pro Pen 3, this part here, the part where his thumb is, I think that's metal. But I think the body here, where where it's holding the buttons, I think that's actually some kind of plastic. I could be wrong, but someone please correct me.
Maybe grab the kit. I think you could just find the silicone sleeves by themselves for like $10 on Amazon if you don't want all the extra things like the extra weights and the extra button compositions and things like that. Anyway, it all makes the pen feel more substantial, and I like holding that a lot more. Now, the bigger display here comes with an adjustable stand in the box, and the 16-inch
that stand is quite nice, by the way.
Display has these nice fold-out feet that we see on a lot of drawing tablets that are around this size. Now, one thing you you have probably already noticed here is that there are no shortcut keys on these displays. There's also no shortcut remote included in the box here. So just something to take note of. It's not something you necessarily need. You could just get away with just using your keyboard for shortcuts and that sort of thing, but it's worth
Let's see, Saul has a comment. The Huion Canvas 13 Gen 3 is on sale for $203. Great deal. Yeah, that is a very good deal. That is a very good deal. It's my number one small pen display recommendation right now. Even though some people have problems with the dials, it is a good tablet. We saw the pen's IAF is pretty good, so I'm happy with it.
noting that those are not here. Now that we're into this price range, it might be worth looking into some of the competitors because you can get them some things in this price
Speaking
range.
of which,
you want to bump up the specs on that screen a little bit and you're not spending that much more. I rank everything I review over my website, so you can check out some of the things that Huion and XP Pen have on offer in this price as well. Even though I will say the Wacom, especially the 16, very competitive at this price. Next up, let's stay on screen tablets here and round out this category. This is the Wacom 114-inch. We have a Wacom tablet that's only $300. Dude, this is very, very price competitive. I'm going to say that this is a not recommend on this one, though. That's going to hurt a lot of people.
Wait, what?
So I'm going to say it's only $300.
Oh.
Dude, this is very, very price competitive. I'm going to say that this is a not recommend on this one, though. That's going to hurt a lot of people. I'm sorry. Now, honestly, I don't think this is really a bad product, but it does not use the Pro Pen 3. It's using similar pen tech to what Wacom licenses out to like phones or tablets, similar to the Samsung S Pen, for example. It's not bad. I do want to stress that, but it is a step down from that Pro Pen. And you can tell corners have been cut here. The screen, it does not look great. It doesn't have wonderful colors. The build quality also feels like a bit of a step down. The real reason I say do not recommend here is because you are giving up that Pro Pen 3, and here I think Huion's 13-inch pen, XP Pen's 13-inch version, those screens are better, and they're just punchier looking. The colors look better, the contrast looks better, and I think the pens are a little bit better feeling in the hand as well. So this is not a bad product, there are just better options out there. Let's go.
Okay, I want to talk about this one. Before I do that, let's look at the comments. Saul says, I saw that price briefly, the $203, when you just showed several tablets. Oh, okay, I must have missed that. Oh, I see it. Yeah, you're right, Saul. It's right here, $206. That's a fantastic price. Nick says, compared to non-display Intuos Pro L, it's a hell of a deal. It is actually a very good deal. So in Wacom 114, here's the summary of it. I don't recommend it either, but I want to be clear on why. There's two reasons. One is the pen is not great. Okay, let me just. It's okay. It's okay. You're gonna get honestly better pens out of Huion and even XP Pen. So that's a problem for Wacom. Their consumer thing is going to suffer. The other problem is it requires you to have a USB-C port that has DisplayPort alt mode and power and data. Laptops these days tend to have that. At least they tend to have at least one. PCs don't have that. Lots of mini PCs don't have that. For you to get that tablet to work with a normal computer, you have to buy another $100 of a Wacom. It's called a Wacom converter. It's a small little box. And you need to get another HDMI cable. And you need to get a USB-C cable, another one. And another USB-A to USB-C. It's another $100. So this tablet suddenly becomes a $300 tablet. Sorry, $400 tablet for something that's not as good as what Saul just pointed out, the $203 Canvas 13 Gen 3. And you're going to have to discover this about the cabling, right? It's not obvious that it doesn't come with this. It's a problem. So I think they made a mistake releasing it the way they did. The key mistake they made was like it needs this weird cabling and you can't use random other cables or converters, and it only has one USB-C port. You can't like get the power and data from data and video from one cable and power. So like you're just screwed. You have to use this Wacom converter and like another $100 for a lot of people. Not worth it. Nick says, I hate Wacom One. Pen sucks. Screen is not great either. So yeah, I unlike the Cintiq Pro where I said it's not recommended for people because you don't need it, I don't recommend this because it's not a great value, right? Only in certain circumstances can you use it, and even then the drawing experience is not great. It's a shame because this could have been a really decent tablet. It could have been an easy recommendation, but they made it so I can't recommend it.
Over another recommend. This is the latest and greatest Intuos
Okay, just to get this out of the way, I do recommend this tablet. It's a good tablet.
Pro tablet. We have 3 sizes: small, medium, and large. I have the medium here, and it is the perfect size. Now, since these are Pro tablets, they do come with that Pro price tag, but pros who have been using these kind of like old school Intuos tablets for like 12, 13 years and are looking to upgrade, you're going to be getting something really solid that's going to last you a really long time. It's also worth mentioning these are crazy thin. They are Bluetooth enabled, so you can go days without having to wire one in. And there are even some shortcuts along the top. Although I have heard that is one of the complaints people have about this device is that the top isn't the best place for a shortcut because your hand is kind of lying across part of the drawing area. If you want...
Basically, the world is divided into two sets of people. Those who like the buttons at the top and those who don't. And that's what we see. Half the people love the tablet because of that, and half the people hate the tablet because of that one fact.
Best place for a shortcut because your hand is kind of lying across part of the drawing area. If you want something like this, but you want to also save some money, there are some non-pro Intuos tablets out there that are very good. They haven't been updated in years, but they don't really need to be. The medium is about half the price as the medium Pro, and it also has Bluetooth and the older 4K pen. Even though the pen is older, it still works really well, and this is not a bad option. There's also the budget versions. There's the Wacom One versions, but here I would also recommend, like the other Wacom One products, that maybe you want to kind of start looking at different brands here, especially if you're on the budget side of things. Lastly, on this list is a recommend. I made an entire video on these just a few weeks ago. These are the Wacom Moving Pads. This is Wacom's first foray into the world of Android tablets. There's an 11-inch version and also a 14-inch version. I love these. I absolutely love them. Both of them. Smaller one is aimed at beginners, so the specs aren't quite as impressive. Actually, they're not impressive at all. This is really a mid-level processor, almost a low-spec processor, so the longevity of the smaller tablet might not be that great. If you're looking 3 years into the future, you're probably going to start to notice some lag. The 14, on the other hand, has a slightly older Snapdragon processor, but it was a very good processor for its time, and it is going to last you a lot longer. It also has a huge screen, over 14 inches. It's OLED. Unlike most other Android tablets, we also get the matte glass on both of these screens, which gives you that grip that feels so good with the Pro Pen 3. Oh, and the Pro Pen 3, we have to mention the Pro Pen 3. Yes, it shows up here yet again. I still use the 14-inch all the time for drawing. I'm an iPad guy. That's where I do most of my drawing, at least up until the last 6 or 8 months or so since I picked this up. But this Pro Pen in Clip Studio on this screen is just so good. There's also the ability to plug both of these now, into your laptop and use them like a Cintiq. So setting this up is kind of a pain.
Well, he's not exaggerating. It is a real pain. It's not even a small pain. It's a big pain. It's super confusing. They should have done what XP Pen did with the Magic Notepad or Magic Drawing Pad 2025. It should work just by plugging in a cable, but for whatever reason.
Set some time aside. Good news is you only have to set it up once and then you're good to go. Every time you want to turn it on, you just pull down on the menu and just toggle it on. There is a touch of lag when you use this as a Cintiq, so it's not quite as free-flowing as like a traditional drawing tablet, but it is surprisingly close. If it's something you want to do with your tablet is like an additional feature when you don't feel like drawing an Android, or if you want to do some touch-ups on the desktop, it is very good. I would say that if you want to work with this like a Cintiq all day, every day, making it your like primary device that you connect to your computer, I would still go with a Cintiq in that case. As an additional feature though, very, very good. There's one big thing that gives me pause when I look at these Android tablets, and that is future support. A screen tablet like a Cintiq or even an Intuos tablet, 10 years from now, those are gonna work fine on any computer. You just plug them in and you go. Wacom will still be supporting those devices with drivers. An Android tablet is a
Let's see, Nick says, and still no drivers to configure anything like on Cintiq. Yeah, another limitation.
Different animal. We've seen some manufacturers drop support after a few years. Samsung offers like 7 years of Android updates on their tablets. Wacom is offering security updates, but hasn't officially pledged Android updates yet. So you're definitely going to want to keep that in mind if you're looking to use this as a long-term device that you want to be using years and years and years into the future. So yeah, those are Wacom's products. That's what they've been cooking. I think this is the best lineup they have had possibly ever, with the most options. For years, Wacom was just the most expensive game in town and you were paying for that brand name, but now they have some really good mid-tier products. Their budget products could use a little bit of an upgrade, but they're experimenting a little bit with Android and some of the other things they're doing. I think Wacom is cooking. What do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.
Okay,
Now,
that
Wacom's
was
really been on a roll recently.
Let me stop the video. That was a good video. And you know what? I agree with everything he said. There's only a few clarifying comments, extra pieces I added. I would 100% agree with the sentiment that this past year, 2025, and then now 2026, has been a fantastic year for Wacom. It's been just really great releases, one after the other. The new Cintiqs, the moving pads, and the Intuos Pro 2025. Yes, each has some little thing we may not like, but overall they delivered. I mean, they delivered over and over. And they just last month delivered the Art Pen too, which we've been waiting for like years for, a new Art Pen. What do you think about XP Pen and Huion exceeding 2K mark for their top models? Okay, so I guess my first thing I think is, what's the cause? Originally, I would say it was because of the Cintiq Pro price. When the 27 went to 3.5K, I'm like, well, that just opens the floodgates, right? And then the second thought is like the global economy, being what it is, components, maybe things just aren't that expensive. I think we're paying a lot for these tablets. I think we need, let me put it this way. The Cintiq, not the Pro, Cintiq 24 Touch, and the Cintiq 16, I think those are very compelling. Because at that price, I've already said this many times, it's a why not Wacom. Like why not spend a little bit more and get Wacom, right? But I think it's hard to deal with these other prices. Now, if you're purchasing these tablets for a studio, probably not a big deal, honestly, given the way they budget things and their upgrade cycles, etc. But it does a little bit of disservice to us who are just wanting people to draw, right? I want to see people have a good option at $1,000. The good news is we have that with the Huion Canvas 22 Gen 3, the XP Pen Artist Pro 22 Gen 2. So, yeah, unless you want a really big one, like a 27-inch, we've got good options now. So I don't think we're locking too many people out, right? Okay. I think that covers it. That's really all I wanted to cover today. We covered IAF. We covered Brad's video, the USB ports. Okay, with that, I'm going to end the stream. I just want to do a short stream to cover some IAF details in Brad's video. We have one more comment. Whoa, look at this. Uh-oh. The IAF emergency being called right now. Hang on. Cube says, I went and tested my Pro Pen 2 IFs again. I'm quite consistently getting 6.5 gram force. And the sanity check against my KP300E, which also got... What's going on? Oh, this is crazy. Hang on. I don't even know. I really don't know what to say about this. Okay, well, we got some more data. Let's talk about it. I'll stay on a bit longer. That's what? Okay. Let me show you one more piece of data because the question now is degradation. And what about old pens? Okay, so this adds more mystery. Well, guess what? UNC has measured old pens from Wacom 2. And let's show you what I got. You like that? I used hip and used slang, UNC. Hang on a second. Okay. And we're going to see if we can detect degradation. Let's start with, let's look at pens here. We'll go to pen families. It's a bit easier that way. What is the first, let's say it's the GP, I think pen, that's the oldest ones I have, right? So I have, I think 4 of these pens or something, we'll see. Look at the IAF. Now again, this is pens that I bought used and they're 25 something years old. Okay? But median is 7 gram force, pretty wide distribution. Here are the actual measurements, by the way. So this is because of an outlier. The numbers are getting between 4.5 and 8, really. Okay? So between this and this is really where I'm getting. Okay? Let's take a look at the XP. When I say XP pens, I'm talking about the Intuos 2 pens, the XP series. IAF, 5.5 gram force, still wide distribution. And there's one outlier, which is at 11, but everything else is like 5.5, 4.0, 7. So like, they're not really that bad. Okay? But I'm just trying to show you this can, oh, hi, Cami Luna. This is, I don't know how old this pen is. Let's say it's 20 years old. And what's after XP? Then there's ZP. I have a bunch of pens. I found 7, 6.8 gram force, wide distribution. Sorry, that's the max pressure. Let's take a look at the samples. Well, I'll be on for a little while. But again, we're seeing a median at around just under 7 and a wide distribution. So we have one, maybe an outlier at 10, but really between 4.5 and 8.5. Right? So, okay, that's, by the way, I am not right now saying they all degrade. I am saying what cubes, it's possible. It is possible. Remember, I got used pens. We don't know what happened to those pens. Okay? We don't know. Here's where it gets a little bit weird to deal with. What about the KP501 pen, Intuos 4 pen? 50, I think is it 501? Yeah, it's 501. Intuos 4 grip pen. Take a look at this. Oops, IAF. It's pretty low, actually. This pen came out when? 2009. That ain't recently. That is not recently. And these are used pens. Well, at least some of them are used. And I measured 3 of them, 2.2, 4.1, 2.3. So we got to see. We got to see, right? But so these are low, and then I have my Pro Pen 3. Cube, I'm sure you didn't drop those Pro Pen 2s. But I am curious when is it the first time you measured them and you got less than 1 gram force? How big a delta is that? I thought you measured them pretty recently. I mean, in the past few years. I don't think you're old enough to have measured them 20 years ago. Pro Pen 2 is pretty low, not quite as low. I mean, it's pretty good, right? And I have a bunch of these pens, so 3.3. Now this pen, of course, came, when did it release? Sorry, 2017. So it's been 9 years. Do pens degrade? Possibly. That would not explain though why Art Pen, Intuos for Art Pen KP701E, I found to be 1.5 gram force. Right? Both these pens very consistent. Sure, there could be errors in my measurement, but like that's quite interesting. Let's see. Let me put my music back on too. It's so weird for me not to hear it. There we go. Many years ago. Okay. All we can do is measure more. So something's messed up. I mean, that's great. Look, I could believe a change of 2 gram force. You're not dealing with a decade, right? And it's a higher max pressure. Are you measuring on the new Intuos Pro 2025? Could that theoretically be the reason? Right? I'm wondering because I measured some UDMR pens on the CTC 6110WL versus the Intuos Pro 2025. I found an increase in IAF and an increase in max pressure. Why that would be, I don't know. Like, I don't know. It's just very strange. Like, I can't believe things are degrade that much. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I think you're very careful with your pens, as I am. You're not just dropping them around. So I don't believe it's going to be damaged. And you've been in possession of your pens. I don't think you've bought any used pens, if you have any at all. Let's see. I pulled out my PTH 460 to measure, which is the same tablet I would have done the initial measurement on since. At the time, it was the only tablet. Got it. I can't. Oh gosh. PTH 460. These numbers for the my Pro Pen 503, just to confirm with you. 504. I have the exact tablet number, even the inventory number that I do the measurements with. Could have multiple tablets. But I did these on, a PTH 660. So I'm using the same family. Very strange. And these were actually, so these are what I call direct measurements. When I used to give these numbers, these were like estimates from the pressure response. I'll just show you what I mean. So if you zoom, let me show you. If I zoom in on the pressure response, I have these graphs, right? And I would estimate the IAF by looking here. And I would say, take the last zero measurement, take the last non-zero measurement, and like go to the midway point, right? So there was a little bit of fuzziness in the way I did IAF before. I don't no longer do this. I do a direct IAF measurement. But these really weren't too far away from what I did with a direct measurement, right? Also, it's a very pretty chart. So I don't know. This is a mystery. Let's see. Nick says, math is a kind of violence against brain I'm willing to take only in very important cases, like saving humanity. I think math is good. I mean, I don't do it, but if people want to do it, I think they should be allowed to engage in math. I think it's fine. we live in a diverse and tolerant society, and we want to be able to have people who enjoy math. But the truth is, like, math is one of those topics for me that it's good to dabble in, but anything serious is like real work. Like, no. I leave that to the math people. I think I got as far as being able to integrate stuff. I never got to differential equations, but I just that's it. I was able to integrate things, to differentiate and integrate, and that was it. That was my life in math. What's the best and worst tablet pen you ever reviewed? Yeah, I know which one that is. Yeah, I know what that is. It's the Wacom 1 tablets and the CP923 pen, both released in 2023. Listen, let me show you. Hi, Lost Sighted KM. Good to see you. We're the tail end of the stream, so I'm just chatting now. Let me find a video here. Which just shows you my attitude about that product. Hang on, where is it? I just like the thumbnail. It's so mean. Okay. So, you're gonna see the thumbnail of the video. So this is the video I did on the Wacom 1 Gen 2, which is the Wacom 1 2023 pens. And I said, I used Hank Hill here, so that pressure ain't right. Bizarre looking strokes, high IAF, expensive tablets. So there's 2 pen tablets, 2 pen displays. I was not happy with them. I was more unhappy with the pen tablets, CTC 6110WL and CTC 4110WL, than with the pen displays. But the strokes looked awful. Now they added a firmware update that fixed 90% of it, but I'm like, why would I do that? Donald Thompson says, how is the Art Pen 2 for inking? I thought it was totally fine. If you like the Pro Pen 3, you'll like the Art Pen. Really, and I said this in the stream I did a couple of weeks ago, the Art Pen 2 is, for me, it is the true successor to the Pro Pen 2 because it has a similar shape. And on top of it, it has barrel rotation and it's cheaper than the Pro Pen 3. So, except for the fact that the Art Pen 2 can only be used with a small number of tablets, it's the pen to get, honestly. Right? So I prefer to use it because it just feels better in the hand for me. Just feels better, right? Yeah, but Saul, who asked this? Yeah, Saul asked. Yeah, these were the worst ones. These were the worst ones. It's I've always said that Wacom has a dilemma with consumer level products, because they can't make them too good, otherwise they'd compete with their pro level products. So they have to not give you higher resolution. They have to not give you certain color support. They have to not give you low IAF pens. And I get it, because they're segmenting their products that way. The problem is the low end Huyons and the consumer end, and the consumer end XP pen tablets, they are starting to get close to the pro level Wacoms. Are they all the way there? No, not of course not. But it just means that Wacom's consumer ones are like, when you look at just performance, drawing performance, they're suffering, right? And I just don't know how they're ever going to deal with that. That Bobby ain't right. That's right, Alfred. What actually, let me just show you one more thing. I had to find the Discord. People have seen this. I like to show it every now and then. Where is my art showcase? Here we go. I'm going to show you a little piece of art I did. It was inspired by, I forgot who said this, but it was inspired by, of course, I love the TV show King of the Hill. And someone, I don't know how we talked about Hank Hill somehow, and someone mentioned Pro Pen and Pro Pen accessories. So I had to draw Hank Hill here as playing Osu. Actually, I should make this a template so that I can put other graphics there besides Osu, or maybe even other tablets. I would buy Art Pen 2 also, but updating to Cintiq Pro 24 for 2K, that's nothing. Yeah. I pulled out my GD 0405U and my original GP300E to test. And what's he say? This pen has such low IF, my scale isn't registering it, even past the initial constant pressure. So it has to be less than, yeah, that's right. 0.3 gram force is like the lowest that pen's supposed to be able to measure. Okay, so that's good. This discussion that Cube is having here. This is why it's important that you see this, because the truth is, this is the challenge of measuring things, right? We have these little mysteries you need to deal with. I still can't get over the fact you found a Pro Pen 2, which is like, what, 6 gram force? That's crazy. Or 5 or whatever. Tested 2 of my other GP300E pens, and I cannot replicate this. I think I have a gold unit. Okay, so you have one that's a little bit out of, it's an outlier for low IAF. What number are you getting for the other GP300Es? I'm really curious. Cami says, Art Pen 2 will be on my eventual buy list since I do have a PTK 470. I just don't draw on it enough to need it now, but the grip pen looks much better than the Pro Pen 3. I agree. Third unit isn't as well isn't as low. Is it are we looking at like what? I'm curious what the number is. If it's like, 1, 2, or like, are you getting like that high Pro Pen 3 value we saw? Degradation of IAF sensors is a huge mystery. But we have different evidence, right? I've seen a 10-year-old pen. So let's put it this way. Some of my GP300Es are just as good as a Huion that was produced yesterday. And the GPs came out 20-something years ago, right? So even if they have degraded, they're still pretty good, right? What I need to do is buy I don't want to spend more money on this because I have so many pens. I need to buy a Pro Pen 3 and measure it every day for like a year. I don't want to do this. Maybe every week. And just see over 5 years if I see a degradation. I don't know. We'll see. That's the other problem. To do these tests manually is like, I do them with a somewhat automated setup, but it's still a lot of work. And it used to drive me absolutely batty to do because it required too much dexterity. Now it's much easier. It's more a question of like putting weights and watching what happens, right? Okay, 1.5 to 3 gram force. Okay. So this is what I'm getting at, Cube. Do we need to revise the bands, right? Like, if we admit that there's the possibility of gold units, meaning accept outliers that are really low, really good, does it make sense to include them as an expectation in the bands? Should we instead have S tier be a little more generous, right? Maybe S tier is 2 gram force and below, and 2 2 to 4 is A tier, right? I don't know. Again, the question is, are we trying to say what should be with the bands, or are we trying to say, here's what is out there, right? Right now, I'm probably leaning a little bit toward defining the bands to represent reality, not desire. Does that make sense? That's just a thought. Okay, anything else we need to cover? I think that's it. We covered a lot today. Do I have any previews for you? I do have a video coming up on IAF, on S tier IAF. I also have a bunch of late stuff I need to do, of course. Unfortunately, it's been pretty low for... the news has been pretty slow, not low. It certainly can't be expected to have gold units, but I wonder if there are pens where that is normal, considering Wacom actually advertised pens having 1 gram force at one point. Yeah. The KP501E, they specifically said that, right? I don't have enough dupes of pens to test for most pens, so my measurements are usually a single pen. I think you do have a bunch of 501s, right? But I think even if you have just one unit, not to place more work on anyone, but it's useful if you can, periodically, once a year, test the IAF, so we get some sort of historical. I try to do that with all my pens, like get 2004 I measured, 2024, 2025, now 2026. I've shifted the methods, so I'm discounting 2024 and 2025. I'm starting fresh with 2026 because my methods are now more accurate. I bought a scale which has 0.01 gram force accuracy. I don't think that's going to help much, but it might help me identify transition points for pressure a little bit better, right? We'll see. Okay, everyone. Let's see. We've been going now for 2 hours. Yeah, 2 hours, 15 minutes. I think I covered everything I meant to cover. If there's anything you need, please join the Discord, and we'll see if we can help you out. I will be streaming again next week, and by then I hope to have a video on IAF and whether S tier IAF pens actually exist. So as I always do, I'm going to share the draft of the video on the Discord, so that people can give feedback. I may want to qualify my statements about S tier IAF based on what Cube has revealed. I have 2 working KP501E pens and a 3rd broken one. Got it. For some reason, I thought you had like 4 or 5 of them. I don't know where I got that idea. Cami says, I don't like how the button plates feel. I think you're talking about the Pro Pen 3. Yeah, I don't like them either. Saul, thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Everyone, have a great night. I'll be back soon. So, peace out. And stay perfect. Okay, how do I end the stream? Okay, see ya.